American spirit? Because we know that the Moors set all this shit up. So the ancient motifs, the ancient Egyptian motifs, or the Camite, or the ancient African motifs is set up intricately in America, which gives rise to a spirit. Now whether you put people on lockdown or whatever, that's different, but the inception of that spirit was Moorish, and it was an actual spirit. Now you see what I'm saying? And you can use that spirit for conquest or whatever, but it's just a war of principalities, but there's always a hierarchy. And the white boys learned that shit from us. You see what I'm saying? So they were taught well that if you're going to set up anything, there has to be a spiritual apparatus over it. So there, number one, there is an American spirit. How else you think a motherfucker, you say a national anthem and you get to crying? That's because somebody, first of all, they put these archetypes of these motifs in your mind at a certain early age. Well, it could be a form of mind control, but then again, on the other hand, it is still an American spirit. Now, over the course of years, that spirit started to deteriorate to the point where as it didn't mean nothing to the people no more. Well, they had studied Rome and shit. That's why Rome had to get Christianity, because Romulus and Remus and their particular stuff that they was dealing with didn't mean anything to them anymore, so the actual government started to doggone deteriorate and fall. So they had to come up with the fucking Christianity shit by drawing the Gnostics out of ancient Kemet, borrowing their shit and turning it around and pasteurizing it or homogenizing it. You see what I'm saying? Yeah. Whereas Jesus become devoid of sex. And the Christ figure lays the motherfucking pipe. Yeah. Sex is at the root of it. Going back to this American spirit, there is a spirit. Now they know when that spirit starts to deteriorate, the morale becomes low. People don't believe in things no more. They understand that if you don't believe in it, then it disappears. Only reason why you have reality on anything is because somebody has a certain mindset to it. That's how it is in the movie Never Ending Story. They say they don't believe in Fantasia no more. Now the nothingness is coming and covering it all up. Everything gets covered over by the nothingness. The Egyptians used to tell you those gods live when you did what? When you called their name. Because they are intelligence. Well, it's the same thing with the American shit. The morale was low. They hadn't gotten in no real super wars in years other than the little old secret wars. You see what I'm saying? It was giving rise to other types of things. So therefore they had to renew the American spirit, and what better way is to blow up a goddamn building. So now don't get me wrong, this is a multiple thing. On this 9/11 thing we got there's about 25 different factions that came about to bring that off. But one of those things immediately was, in order for us to make a stand, we got a renewed American spirit. So therefore, as soon as the building went down, the campaign came on. Flags everywhere. Then put the preachers up in there and renew the American spirit along with religion. It's all in the movie Wag the Dog. You see? And so all this thing in Atlanta, you know, where it's irrational. They got a nigga in Atlanta riding around. Motherfucker got a damn 1973 Ford LTD. I didn't like the motherfuckers in 1973. He got a Ford LTD with no fender on each side, no grill. You see what I'm saying? No grill, no paint job, but he got American flag riding around on that shit. I say anybody that don't represent what America is supposed to represent, the land of capitalism, is your ass. But he was caught up in the American spirit. And what you're seeing now, you're seeing black people that you never thought would be the way they are. You thought was cool. When that flag shit came down, you saw where their mind was. The lines were drawn. There are 3 species of humans on the earth. The fact that there are 3 species of humans, it says that they teach, and it says disclosed as followers. The material species is disclosed when man said there will follow a sign. Now this is what it means. It says there's 3 species of human. And the 3 species of human is, one human is made of, the one human, which is the original human, which is us, is made of dust, spirit, and soul. Now, see, now we ain't talking about no racist shit. We're talking about what the original scriptures say, that now you can say, oh, Bobby been talking about these white people and all of this kind of shit here. You got to deal with what the scriptures say. Now, don't get mad, because these are the same scriptures that they copied the first 4 gospels. In here, the first human being, the original one, is made of dust, which means the physical body, because it's made of the elements that he created the world with. Dust, spirit, and soul. So black people is dead. They operate from the spirit. Their soul is not awakened yet, because the soul is the actual God that is in you, that is lying dormant. The reason why you are woke at this particular time and you are interested in this knowledge to sit through this is because the God that's in you is thirsting to remember. You're trying to remember what you were in previous eons. That's the only reason why you were here. And because your light is on you, the only ones that's on the planet right now. Now remember that now. Can you fathom that you walk around on a planet that you're the only ones alive? You understand what I'm saying? You're the only ones alive. And it is up to you to cultivate your soul, because that's the only thing that's going to give you nourishment, not the shit that's made by dead people. You see what I'm saying? So one is made of soul, dust, spirit, and soul. The other one is made of dust and spirit. One is made of dust and spirit. And the other one is made of dust. Now, and they didn't say no animals. They say human beings. Now, you got to deal with that. Now, look at this. The one made of dust, apparently you know who the hell that is. We don't even need to even go into that. Then you have one that's made of dust and spirit, which means that you are dealing with something that would be a miscegenation of the white races amalgamating a certain group of black people till you would get what you would have in population of the world, like your Arabs. You see what I'm saying? But why the white people are created. That's a different thing now. We've proven that over and over again. The white people are created. You see, in here they're talking about the dust, so they're talking about something like your Arab, not misconstruing with the black Arab. So they're talking about something like your Arab, and they're talking about something like a Mexican. You got white Mexicans, then you have semi-white Mexicans. That would be the ones that would be made of spirit and dust. And then you would have a black Mexican, which would be the descendants of the Mayans, or what you call it like that, which is very few left because they killed them all off. But your black Mexicans also, the Mexican is nothing but an Indian. So basically they've killed off most of the black Indians in America. Like I told you at the first beginning of the lecture, how is it that all of the pictures that they show Geronimo, Sitting Bull in them is blacker than us? But now every time they show you a doggone Native American, he's a white man with a fucking tonto wig on.
We are the most unique brand of Negro there is. And no matter how much they claim that we are savages and inferior that the white man put in their head, they follow us. And they follow us, and we are unique because we have gone through a process that makes us like nobody else. You see what I'm saying? We are unlike anybody else. We are even unlike the Caribbeans. They still have a connection to Africa. You see it even in the talk and even in everything about them. Still have African overtones to it. Because they was on a tropical land. We are the only people that have been made new. And whether you like it or not, we have produced the most innovative inventions, genius, and intellectual ability that's unmatched. You figure they talk about a Diop, well hell, got a damn Diop on every fucking corner. Now I'm not taking nothing from the African, and I'm not taking nothing from the people of the diaspora. But what I'm trying to say is, we have been at the forefront of running this stuff. That's just history. Because there's something in us in a transformation that we have gone through. No matter how damn degenerated we might look today walking around the ghettos or whatever. There's something in us that's unique. That puts us closer to the ancient Egyptians than the damn Africans. That's why we connected back with it. And this was prophesied. They go in and they say that the Egyptians, in so many words in this passage, created, or the first black man created the Amu, which is another fair-skinned race, and the Tamahu, which is the created white men. This is all coming from the temple of Seti I at Abydos, the first Holy Land. So now we have a page of history that don't suggest no ape man. This is what the Egyptians are saying, and they say they call them the created white people. You see? Diop in his book, it's not pre-colonial Black Africa, it's the other one, Egyptian origins of African origins of civilization, myth, and reality. In that book, he goes all into the Tamahu, but he omits this page where it says they are the created white people. You see what I'm saying? So we have counter history that suggests other than this ape thing. We can prove this over and over through mythology. Mythology say that this would happen. They said that they would have to take an extract. You got all these thousands of cultures. This is very profound here. Let's try to understand what's going on. In so many words, what went on was not necessarily a fall. It was a divine plan. The ancient mystical masters that ran the earth understood that one day there would be a deterioration period which would separate mass population of people who had a consensus of knowledge, information, and science under one cultural system, or 4 or 5 major cultural systems which were strong. And they understood that these systems would deteriorate and become multiple systems with fragmented cultures. So they understood that the central plan was to take those fragmented cultures, Egyptian, West African, Central African, extrapolate or extract the best, the strongest out of those cultures, remove them and put them all the way in the West. And then those cultures come together sexually on a procreation process that make a new creation. So those new creation, what would make that new creation a unifying factor that the African didn't have by deterioration? Because in us is something that's going on that the Africa is separated by. What do we mean by that? You got Evo, Hausa, Dogon, Timbuktu, Egyptian, Kushite, Punt, Somali, Libyan, Nigerian, Ghanaian, Senegalese. Right. But over here, you create a new person that is mixed together of all these different Africans, because the simple fact, over here you were just a black person, so they just put you together and made it you. But in our blood system, we got Dogon, because we've been a great mixing bowl in the West that it talks about in the Kabbalah. Out of Egypt I will call my son. These houses will come back into covenant, God's covenant, which is the tribes of Israel, Isis, Ra, and Elohim, which is Horus, being reunited. And when they come back together, In our blood, we will have Egyptian, Dogon, Hausa, Nigerian, ancient Yoruba, ancient Bambara, you know what I'm saying, the Fawn, the Dahomey, all in the central blood system, which is a reunited Africa of the ancient world, in the new people, because we are a mixture. Whereas the other Africa had broken apart and made other cultures. In us, we represent the uniting, the solidarity, and the merging back into those ancient cultures, which is called the smooth ashlar, or the crown jewel, or the finishing product. The ancient mystical Africans, recorded in the doggone mythology, we got so much of it, understood this. And that would become the body of Osiris, connected back together. You see? So here's a whole nother form of history that is told in various forms of mythology. The scattered tribes of Israel. The scattered houses. But in that ancient mythology, they always talk about a gathering. So right in this judgment scene, in the book of Coming Forth by Day, to look at this on another level, you got these different netters, which represents different energies, different aspects of the planet Earth, all assembled, all going through a filtering process of the weighing of the heart and the balancing of the scale, which in turn is the finished product again of Osiris on the throne. So this picture of Osiris, or Osir, these netters, or these particular entities you see here, these gods, these netters, these judgments, are nothing but components inside of this one God. So all of these is in him. And all of these represent the mechanisms that work to put all of these back together.
Now it's interesting, you're saying these represent the mechanisms. Well, let's talk about those mechanisms and what that really means.
Well, you got the feather of Mayat right here. Now let's go into ancient esoteric information. Mayat also is this balancing scales. The royal art of ancient Kemet, or ancient Egypt, is the mystical art called alchemy, which is the study of melanin, in so many words. The royal art is going on inside of the body of Osiris, therefore, as representative of inside of the body of the original people on earth, which is us. We are the Osirians. The different Anubis would be a gateway that these gods would filter through to become the one Osiris. Mayat, the feather, would be a gateway or a form of balancing that these netters would come through and filter through and sift through like a milling process to become the body of Osiris. The god Hemmitt, which is the eater of souls, which in actuality would break down the process of the individual souls to mix it back in to make the perfect elixir. And the god Tahuti, which in so many words is showing that these particular entities here are intelligence, because he's recording it in so much as recording it He's a form of the synthesizing process of this consciousness that's coming up out of this whole thing, which is the consciousness of Osiris, which would be our higher consciousness. So there's a physiological or cultural level of the same court system and how they do all that. They got that from Hemmitt. But the court system in ancient Hemmitt, that now we even have the judge Osiris in the modern time, because if you go to England, they might have a white wig on, but the judge, his wig has nappy hair in the top of it. So they have these white wigs on in England. And all the jury or whoever is judging, their wigs is smooth. But the judge, the main judge, he might have smooth hair on the side, but on the top is nappy little peppercorn beads within the white wig. So we have a prototype of ancient Kemet being copied by the Europeans, but that prototype of the law in the court of ancient Kemet is only a manifestation of something that is going on inside of the body also too. A judgment of energies.
What do you mean? A judgment of energies.
Judging, in so many words, it just means balancing out. Balancing out. Bringing two forces together and balancing them. In our body, the central staff that balances out all of these latent energies in our body that we call our spiritual self or our soul, has one central balancing system that shoots up the spine, which is called a Kundalini force, which is represented in ancient cultures as the staff of Tahuti, the staff of Moses. Moses takes the staff and parts the Red Sea. The Red Sea is the blood vessels that surrounds the spinal system. You see, it's 32 vertebrae in the spine, 32 degrees, and 33 degrees, which is which would be the final one in Western Masonic aspect. All of this stuff is talking about a balancing that's going on in the body, which is recorded as a balance that should go on in society. As within, so without. As above, so below. That's what balance is. You see, we must understand what did they know about their remote history. And what about that remote history that they knew about that would give them the insight in the spirituality to produce a practice and produce various ways of spirituality and scientific ways of looking at things, a research in trying to find out what is needed to be done to get to a higher spiritual level. What was it in their remote past, that brought them to these conclusions? Apparently these are the most illumined people on earth. And they were the most illumined people on earth because they knew something generally about where they came from and how they got to where they were and basically where they were going. And all the stuff in between is the process and the steps that they took to ensure themselves the final solution. So in order to understand that, we must understand the beginning. The Egyptian beginning, the Egyptian beginning or the Camite beginning, in so many words, to cut through all of the different aspects of ideology, in so many words, they understood that there used to be another primordial entity that somehow was thrust into a new reality of physical existence. And that primordial entity woke up one day and found itself to be human and having a human experience in a new situation that is totally different than the prior situation of the divine, and to put it in so many words, the prior situation of being gods. Omnipotent beings. That's a hell of a information and a blueprint to start off with that would make you superior in a sense that you know that you were these advanced beings that one day was shifted into a new paradigm of human existence. That's what the Camite and Egyptians knew. That they were shifted into a new paradigm of human existence. And number two, they had to live out this human existence of several eons. Only to come to the final solution or the final metamorphosis or manifestation back into the original aspect, but not necessarily the same. It's the concept of a caterpillar going into a cocoon and becoming a butterfly. The caterpillar was the original larva of creation. The human is the cocoon stage of something that is not finished. I don't care how much of human civilization we go through. It is always in the process of becoming the butterfly, which is a metamorphosized caterpillar god, cocoon stage human. Butterfly represents the finished product. In Egypt, you always saw this scarab. Let me see if I got my ring. This scarab. This scarab, which represents dormancy, will one day grow into the winged beetle Kephra. Kephra, which is the finished product. But as long as you have these two principles in ancient Kemet, it means that humanity is never going to be the final stage. We can never go back to kindergarten, no matter how advanced we thought it was. We have to become something new. This is the fundamental and central to all world mythology and all world religion.